For those of you who don't know, my name is Amanda Hargeth, and I'm with ELIGIBILITY of Wisconsin out of Madison, and I'm the outreach specialist there and have been for about a year and a half. Today, we're excited to have one of our partners at VA Farms, Denise Chapin, do a nice presentation about what she does and how they help veteran farmers here in Wisconsin. With that, Denise, you can go ahead.
All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking a little time to listen to the VA Farms presentation. I have our presentation up here on the screen, so hopefully everyone can see it. I cannot see the chat box, but Amanda has graciously agreed if there's something's typed in that she may be able to field those, but do know that I'll have a little time at the end for Q&A. So we are the Wisconsin site for VA Farms. I have listed up there our team. So I'm Denise. I have a background in vocational rehabilitation. I've worked state, private, and now federal vocational rehabilitation. I've been in the field about 14 years, I think, if my math is right. And really, our specialty is just helping people with disabilities to get back into work. That's our bread and butter of what we do. And then also listed on there is the rest of my team, and I will share their contact information if you ever need to reach out to them. They're all very happy to talk about the program. But we have Amy Furkey, Susan Horick, and Ann Hansen as the rest of my team. They will not be presenting today, but they are with us in spirit. So in 2018, the end of the year, there was a joint explanatory statement put out to the VA Department of Veteran Affairs for us to create a pilot program to train veterans in agricultural vocations while also attending to the behavioral and mental health needs with behavioral healthcare services and treatment from licensed providers. This came at a time that agriculture really was kind of in a bit of a crisis all around. Veterans are just as likely to be in agriculture as non-veterans. And there was a lot of concern with just overall mental health of people in agriculture, as well as farmers in general tending to not reach out to healthcare and seek help for mental health treatment. So the VA really wanted to make sure that veterans who were also in agriculture had resources and a way to connect out to their healthcare providers in a really safe way. And also, as you probably know, generationally, there are less people interested, or have been less people maybe interested in getting into agriculture. So this was another way for us to revitalize agriculture as an industry. And veterans are really great target population for that. They're really hardworking folks, really dedicated to their country, and really value hard work, and really like to see an outcome on things, teamwork and responsibility. So we really felt like this could be a good fit for us in Wisconsin. And the next slide here is just a diagram of which states have and which VA hospitals have a VA Farms pilot. So if any of you are not here in the Midwest, you can see that the rest of the VA Farm sites are huddled either on the East Coast or the West Coast. We're kind of the only Midwest location. There are 2 in New York, Montrose and Canandaigua, I think I said that right, New Jersey, Maryland, Seattle, Washington, Huntington, West Virginia, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Wisconsin, Butler, Pennsylvania, and Portland, Oregon. So you can tell that our locations are going to have our rollout of VA Farms is going to be a little bit different. Just geographically, what we grow, how much space we have for growing things. So you can see that it may roll out differently at different VA hospitals. And then this is why we chose Wisconsin. This is what we said to our when we put in our pilot is that, so Wisconsin, this was 2017 data, sorry, I don't have anything more recent, but at the time, we were #1 in cheese production, dry whey, milk goats, mink pelts, although I don't think that's really a thing anymore, but corn silage, cranberries, ginseng, and snap beans. We were ranked #2 in the nation for certified organic farms. We're a national leader in innovation, production, and marketing systems for fresh and value-added local foods. And agriculture at the time comprised of nearly 10% of the state's employment. So we have a really strong agricultural workforce in Wisconsin. All right, and then our process that we decided is to really have a vocational emphasis rather than more of a therapeutic emphasis in our program. So it's really important for us to get veterans back into farming rather than maybe as a hobby. We wanted to, we see the potential for veterans being productive, active contributors in the community. And so we also identified some of the gaps in that the people starting farms may not have been in farming growing up. They may not have grown up on a farm. So 2 of the pieces we added were education and hands-on training. And then because we are a hospital, the whole healthcare is also an integral part of that. And that is to meet the needs of the mental health needs of our veterans too. So that does not go ignored. Okay. Our mission for our VA farms is to increase support for rural veterans entering or re-entering the workforce in agricultural vocations by partnering with community organizations to provide high quality education, training, therapeutic intervention, on-the-job experience, and whole health care with an emphasis in mental health. This will revitalize interest and entry into the agriculture workforce while empowering veterans in rural areas to thrive through whole health well-being. I just wanted to mention too that this is a program improvement mission. And hopefully VAs around the nation, after this pilot is done, will have their own initiatives to start up a VA farms type of pilot. It may look different than this. This is just one example of what a VA farms pilot could look like. But I wouldn't be surprised and anticipate if there are a lot more VAs that start doing more of this in everyone's areas. So just be on the lookout for this wherever you're at. So I'm just going to jump into what we do. So formal training is one of the cornerstones of what we're doing in VA farms, is to offer and pay for formal training for our veterans. And this has been a really high interest area for all of our veterans. Some of them, we have a great education GI Bill here in Wisconsin, but some of them just are not eligible, or they've used up all of their education benefits. There may be several reasons why they have not utilized either federal or state veteran education benefits. So the VA Farms pilot was a way for some of our veterans who would otherwise not have started or done some formal training to get that formal training that they really needed, either to start their business or to even enhance what they're already doing. So here locally, we partnered with UW-Wisconsin, or University of Wisconsin, and their Agriculture and Life Sciences College. Specifically, we partnered with the Farm and Industry Short Course. Our goal being that we, veterans, are probably, and anybody who's in farming, really needs a non-traditional format for engaging in education that isn't year-round, that needs to work well with the growing season. So the Farm Industry Short Course does offer that. They offer 6 different areas that they focus on that veterans can get training in. And that ranges anywhere from like crop and soil management, dairy management, diversified agriculture systems, farm equipment operations, meat, and urban agriculture. And I think they're doing one too now on organic agriculture. So they have a lot of different diverse areas that they're training in agriculture. What we did find as we're doing this is that our veterans really weren't interested in the whole training session. Our veterans are even more non-traditional than typical younger farmers. They've already been to, to war or in service, and they come back and they're kind of ready to start their lives. They're already working. They really needed something they could fit in between all of what they were doing already. So what we tended to see was that they would take, rather than like a set, 12 credits or whatever it is, 16 credits, they may take one 4-credit course or a 3-credit course in a semester, something that they were really interested in. And we were able to work with our, with University of Wisconsin-Madison to work with our veterans so that there was less pressure to maybe complete a full degree. Maybe they didn't need that and they couldn't fit it in. So they've been really great and flexible with us on understanding that that's probably a better fit. And I think part of it too has led them to kind of change how they're running their program and allowing more flexibility for people coming into agriculture in non-traditional settings and backgrounds to still fulfill those education requirements. The other school that we partner with is Madison College. Our pilot started out pretty excitedly with Madison College. They had a lot of different agriculture opportunities like small business, farming stuff, financial planning, some really bread and butter stuff that was just easy for them to get started with, especially if they were new in farming. So Madison College then has kind of minimized some of their offerings. And now what they're doing is a modern meat butchery. We sent 2 of our veterans through that training program and have encouraged vets in general to check that out, because I know that butchery and meat production is an area of need, at least in our state. So I'm not sure about other states, but we have encouraged our veterans to get into that. We've also paid for workshops and other coursework that's not so formal. But education, again, is a really important part of getting veterans back into agriculture. The next thing that is really important, I think, is that hands-on training. As I mentioned, that a lot of the people we've worked with have really no farming background at all. I don't think any of them grew up on a farm, the ones that we're working with, and we've served 20 different veterans, and really none of them really grew up on a farm. This is new to them. It's just something they really want to do and they're passionate about, but they didn't have the opportunity to grow up on a farm. So the hands-on training has been really beneficial for our vets. We use paid training, so nobody is unpaid. We would never ask anyone to work for free. And so I'm just going to kind of go through some of our training sites. These are actual farms, productive farms in our community. And they were willing to work with our vets and to give them a good training experience. So this one listed here is Troy Farms, or Rooted. This is a vegetable production and education project. They are certified organic for vegetables. They're on the Madison north side. The cool thing about this, or the great thing that we've really noted, is that it's on the bus route. And so some of our veterans have some limitations in transportation. They live still in the city or whatever, and maybe taking the bicycle to work is a little harder. So this one has been very popular because they can get to the farm site. It is the city's oldest urban farm. They sell directly, they do farmers market. They're also a CSA. They have an on-site farm stand. They also do some teaching, which we really appreciate. They actually do some on-site curriculum with all of their trainees, including our veterans. So they get some hands-on experience as well as some training or education. It's a really great example of urban farming right here. And our next site is Carindale. This farm site is in Columbus, Wisconsin. It's maybe an hour, I think. Maybe not quite an hour, just depending on the traffic from Madison, maybe 45 minutes. Anyway, so they are another organic farm. They do field crop, like I think they do, I'm trying to think if it's wheat. Anyway, looking at my notes here. Anyway, I cannot remember. But they do some field crop as well as some vegetables, so organic CSA again, or community supported agriculture. They've been certified organic since 1998. And they have a really like community minded or family oriented type of work site. So the crew eats together, they take breaks together, they really get along quite well. The veterans that we've had that have gone there really enjoy the camaraderie. And that's something that they miss. That's something they had in their military experience. And so this farm site has been a great one as far as offering the camaraderie. Our next farm site is Carindale. This farm has been in Dane County since 1969. They're most famous for their U-pick strawberries, but we have, they also do a lot of other fruit, trees and vegetables. This would be a good example of someone who is interested in like a permaculture, forest, tree, you know, fruit farm. This was a great setting for them. And we've had a lot of veterans interested in starting their own orchards. So this has been a great site for us. This is Carindale Farms. Our newest placement site is with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Agriculture Research Stations. During COVID, we were not able to utilize this farm site. They just weren't allowing any veteran trainees or any kind of trainees really, unless they were employed to start up. But we recently got permission to start again with agriculture research stations. And so what this is they have a variety of different research stations, 12 around the state, where they study things like soils and climates and the different biodiversities in Wisconsin. And we have agreements or approved to work at 5 of the different farm sites. So we're excited to offer a dairy opportunity, because it wouldn't be Wisconsin without having a dairy. So we now do have a dairy, as well as like a cow, calf, heifer operation. We have one that offers field crops, another one that's beef. One of them offers swine, sheep, some forest land. And then we also have a turf grass one, which is, I was surprised at first that was a big thing in agriculture, but apparently turf grass is a really big deal in agriculture. So we now have an opportunity for training in turf grass as well. So we're really excited to offer. Our goal really was to offer as many different types of placement sites, because we know that not one size fits all, and no, there's not just one type of agriculture. We didn't want it to be that kind of pilot site. So this is agriculture research stations. Again, we have not had any vets yet, and at any of these farm sites due to COVID, but we're excited to refer some vets over now. All right. The third part of our pilot is that whole health model of care. As I mentioned, it's maybe fairly common for farmers to not reach out for mental health care. It's just as common, I think, for veterans to not reach out for mental health care. And so it's really important to have this piece of our pilot, even if it seems like a subtle background of what we do. it really has gotten a lot of veterans who otherwise wouldn't have been connected or an interested in being connected with the VA to really reconnect with the VA. Maybe they had a bad impression about the VA, they didn't like it, too big, just bad experience, what have you. A lot of points of view and preferences on whether or not someone likes or wants to engage with the VA. But we've actually had several of our veterans start again services with the VA because of VA Farms. So we're excited to at least get people back in the doors. So I'm going to skip this slide and then come back to it, I think, because I wanted to share what the model of whole health care is first, and then I'll come back to this and see if I can do that. Okay. All right. So if you're not familiar with the whole health care, this is just a quick overview. This circle diagram is what we refer to as the circle of health. It really just gives a description of our components of health. So we find that the middle of the circle is me. That would be yourself, who I am as a person. And then as you expand out farther from that, the next thing you'll notice is the mindful awareness. And that's how we think about the world around us, how we perceive it. So some perceptions, and how we think about it. As you go a little further out in that green section with all of the circles, kind of looks like a flower, those are 8 areas of self-care. So these are the things that we do on our own prior to any medical intervention that help us stay healthy. And it's not just healthy, body healthy. You can see on there, there's working your bodies. That would be your body healthy, like going to the gym or going for walks or, stretching or whatever. Surroundings is another thing. What do you do? Like how do you keep your home environment or your, where do you live? Is this an environment that's conducive to your health? Your personal development, that's where we see our work. That's what we do for our jobs. What do we do for like education too? What do we do to keep our mind active? So that's the personal development. That's what we're really focused on in our vocational services, but it's only just one piece of it. The other thing we do is what do we put in our body is food and drink. These are easy ways to nourish ourselves. Also really important is recharging. How do we rest and refresh enough? Or do we do too much of that? I don't know. And then family and friends, co-workers, that's kind of our social part of our lives. How do we interact with the people around us that we care about? What are our relationships like? Spiritually, and that doesn't have to be religious, but how do we connect with a higher power? What's important to you on a spiritual level? And then power of mind, whether that's like meditation or knowing what your limitations are or your weaknesses are and working on those kind of mental inflexibilities or insecurities and things like that. How do you have a stronger sense of mind? As we know that can help us to make a lot of positive changes one way or another, even just through our mind. So that's things we can do even before we even get to the doctor. The next section out there is that professional care and treatment. So that is what we can do, like going to the doctor, going to our dental appointments every 6 months, annual physicals, things like that, that preventative care. And also even farther out from that is how our community is. And if everybody is kind of looking out for their own health and their interactions with the community, that's how we all fit together. So as you can see, there's a lot going on even before you get to the doctor that people can work towards as goals and become strengthened in before things kind of get too bad. I didn't put a slide in here, but there is like a really kind of shocking statistic about how much Americans spend on healthcare, or what the cost of healthcare is. I didn't put it in there because I was like, I don't know if it's really important, but there is one. And so this is kind of the refocus, is what can people do even before they get to that point where they need medical intervention? What could they do to kind of prevent it? So we encourage our vets to kind of look at themselves and what areas they want to work on to improve for themselves. I'm just going to go back to that. I just wanted to explain kind of what the whole health model meant and how we're trying to approach, and you may see that from veterans hospitals, even your own hospital, they may see that. So we're really trying to get, let's see if I can get back to my other slide. There we go. So we're really trying to get back to, instead of saying, what's the matter with you, trying to say what matters to you. So that's kind of what they say about whole health. So within VA Farms, one of the things that we do to support our veterans is not just the vocational part, but it's also mentorships and enrichment activities. We've done some things with our vets that have been, maybe they wouldn't have done on their own. They generally tend to be maybe a little more isolated. We're kind of rural, so they're on their farm. It's COVID. They can't get out to get out, go see their friends so much. So we've actually started doing a peer group twice a month where we get together and we talk about farming. That's all they do. And they're very interesting conversations about fencing and keeping your bulls in the in your pasture, and how to manage the animals and things like that. So they've gotten together, very informal, so it really does not feel like a VA meeting. It just feels like veteran farmers getting together and just connecting with one another and sharing ideas. So it's been really useful for our vets. The other thing we've done is some pasture walks. This was kind of pre-COVID. I'm hoping to see there would be some like virtual pasture walks. I don't know if that's a thing, but it would be neat if there was. But before this started, we had done some pasture walks with our veterans. And this is one of the quotes from our vets. It said, "I didn't feel connected to people like I used to." So after he got out of the military, he just didn't feel connected anymore. But I really connected with those guys on the pasture walk. They think like I do about the earth, the soil, and water. They don't know how much they have helped me. I don't want to lose touch and want to participate in more things like this. I think this is a really common sentiment from our vets. The veteran that has made this quote is still involved, and he comes to our peer groups every other week and really just enjoys talking with the other veterans. He's so passionate about farming. So it's been great to have, these kind of informal conversations as well. We've also started offering some gardening classes. This is not necessarily going to help them get a job in agriculture, but we recognized after evaluating our own pilot that we've really had a gap in that there's a lot of potential. People really enjoy gardening as a hobby. There's a lot there, or beekeeping, or flower arranging, or growing herbs, and indoor gardens or plants or whatever. So there's a lot of potential there. So we actually have started doing some gardening groups. I think they're every other week. And we're doing them virtually, and we're starting to get a lot of interest. I think our last one was on herbs, but we've done one on like starting seeds indoors. And we've done one on beekeeping. Like, again, these are just hobby types of workshops, but people are starting to get interested in them and just like hearing about that, especially if you can't, it's been so cold this winter. It's been great to have people able to think about spring a little bit more and connect with other veterans. The other thing I'm going to mention about our therapeutic support is that we have started to develop a mentorship program, and we're always looking for more mentors who are experienced in agriculture, who would like to mentor a new veteran farmer. So we have vets that are in VA farms who are starting up their farm, really needing a lot of support and guidance, and really interested and want to hear what an experienced farmer has to say. So these are kind of casual mentorships, paired up with a veteran who has maybe some similar farm setting. We wouldn't, pair somebody up who has horses with a vegetable farmer. They wouldn't have as much to talk about, but so we try to pair them up if they have similar types of agriculture. So we're starting that. We're getting a few farmers interested. So we put together like a profile where what's your experience? What do you feel you could share? How far would you like to travel? How much time can you commit? We really want it to be meet the farmer and the veteran's needs. So if you're like, I really can only meet twice a month for 2 hours total, like that would be something we'd really want to take into consideration. And then, can you meet virtually? Is it okay if we meet over, FaceTime or something? So we put that kind of stuff in there so we know when we pair them up with a veteran that they're gonna have a relatively easy way of communicating. And then when they get together, they set up goals. Really, I really want to work on my fencing. I really want to work on the pest management or something like that. So they'd really set up some specific goals and work towards those. And really that's kind of the commitment for the mentorship. It can continue if both parties are like, wow, I really dig you and we are like working out so well together. Let's continue to have an informal mentorship. But it's not really intended to be ongoing, but it can be if it naturally works out that way. So we're really excited to offer mentorships as kind of a natural way to build community partnerships for our veterans and natural community supports, because we are not agriculture experts in VA, but we know there are a lot of farmers out there that are just as passionate and want to give back and share with veterans. So this is kind of an opportunity to do that. Let's see here. Okay, this is what I just talked about. The circle of health. Okay. Next up, I just wanted to share kind of what we've been up to. This is our program progress and outcomes. So far, as I mentioned, we have 4 different work sites. And if you add the 5 from research stations, that'd be 8. So 8 total different farm sites that veterans can work on. We've served 20 unique or different veterans. And we've had 10 different veterans who have enrolled in our formal training. We've developed our mentorship program. And as I said, we're starting to put together mentor and veteran profiles. I think we have 2 each now. So 2 veterans and 2 mentors that we're putting their profiles together. So hopefully get them matched. It sounds so funny, but anyway. We've also developed supported education as a service. This isn't something we offered before as a program within the VA, and we felt like this was a good time to start that. And really that's just getting, if the veteran truly just is interested in the education piece of it, and that's all they want from us, then that's totally fine. If they only wanted to do the hands-on training, that's totally fine too. So they don't have to do every single part of it. They could do a piece of it. So then we did put together the supported education as a service. So we're excited to have that. We put together also a VA Farms Advisory Council, and Amanda here is gracious enough to join us for those meetings. We appreciate having ELIGIBILITY as part of that. Oh, you guys are even in my slide. I totally forgot that. I love it when things like work out so well when I'm presenting. So at our VA Farms Advisory Council, we meet quarterly, and it's a lot of different people. They could be veteran farmers or just farmers, people in education, people in agriculture, state, federal, private. So we have a lot of different folks that join, and it's really kind of a great mix of expertise, I would say. We've developed workshops. We've taken vets and hosted pasture walks, and we've started our peer groups. These are some of our other progress. We have engagement with ELIGIBILITY. We feel like that's a really important partnership. Our VA farm, our veterans do a lot of times have a service-connected or non-service connected disability that could make it hard for them to continue farming. So we really think that it's important that ELIGIBILITY continue. I think we have really similar missions. And then also, last but not least, is our VA Farms and Gardens. So that was the gardening programs that I was referring to. We have named it VA Farms and Gardens. And then this is our action plan for this year. I don't know if you guys run in the same year. So our fiscal year is October through September. So we're in our last year of funding for our pilot. It doesn't mean it's going to go away. It just may look a little different after like our pilot funding is done. We'll always still have the program, but we may not have like funding for as much education, for example. So what we're going to do, and I highlighted some things in there because I thought I'd want to, draw people's attention. This is if you know of like how we could improve in these areas, or you want to volunteer or be part of that. I highlighted some of those. So we want to strengthen our internal process. And so we want to get more mentors together. We have it in theory and everything. We have a process in place, but we haven't really truly tested this out from start to finish, partnering up or pairing up with a mentor and a veteran yet. So we'd like to kind of see how it goes in real life. So we want to focus on that, our mentorship program. We want to keep our advisory council active, and the members, we want to make sure we're inviting members that really are interested in this. So as I see people that are really, interested in working with veterans in agriculture or education, I like to send out an invite so that we keep interested parties part of this. Outreach is part of what we're interested in doing. And then, let's see, internal processes. We are going to increase some of our gardening offerings. Like I said, this was something we identified for ourselves we were lacking because we're a vocational program. So we don't really think about other things. We don't think about gardening. Don't just go out and garden, right? So we realized we need to do a little more. So we've partnered up with our whole health program. And they're primarily, that's why we have an occupational therapist on our team now. So the whole health team is that's where the gardening is. Since our team really is vocational, we've actually partnered up with one of the other VA services to help us with those gardening offerings. So we'll keep that going if we can. And eventually we'll be able to meet in person and do some of this, which I think would be a little more impactful. But for the time being, it's working out. It's getting started. We're going to continue to offer as much as possible virtual groups and individual services until we can meet in person. So we in no way want to limit services to our vets. It just may look a little different. Number 3 under there, strengthening internal processes, is we're really hopeful to have VA staff trained in horticulture therapy. We don't have any staff that are really formally trained, and certainly until now have not really implemented any sort of horticulture therapy to our veterans here at the Madison VA. That doesn't mean that other VAs aren't doing it. We just haven't been. So as part of our pilot, we really like to make sure that we have staff trained so that they can implement that. And that's not just in whole health, but that could be in our community living center or some of our transitional housing locations or inpatient services, things like that. There's a lot of applications for horticulture therapy that could be implemented at any VA. But our problem being is that it's in person, the training's in person. So we're trying to get to that point where we can have that training in person. Take some leadership approval to do that, but we'll get there. The last thing we wanted to do, last but not least, is really to increase our farm site opportunities. we were hopeful, and we're hopeful to get maybe 2 more farm sites in this next fiscal year. And then I feel like then we'll say we're good for a little while. We would like to see if we can find one that's close in proximity. So if possible, a veteran could use public transportation to get there. And then we're kind of open with the other, but somewhere that maybe is offering something year round. We do have some year round opportunities, as I mentioned, with Madison research stations, the beef and dairy and things like that. But with the veggies and stuff, they're not going to have as many year-round opportunities as seasonal. So we're looking to maybe increase to a couple more farm sites to offer to our vets. So those are our goals. And for eligibility requirements, we keep it pretty open here. They do need to be a patient at the Madison VA. We have had lots of interest, and we're happy to talk to veterans, even if they're not in our catchment area. We've had vets in other VA catchment areas where we'll talk and give them resources, and we'll just kind of meet informally and see if we can get them connected with services kind of in their area. So that's shouldn't all be a deterrent. We just couldn't formally admit them into our program unless they were at our Madison VA. And then they really just need to be referred over to our CWT, or Compensated Work Therapy program. That's kind of the overarching umbrella over our vocational services. So they just need a referral over. Our referral does involve a medical clearance, but don't let that deter you. It really is just making sure that, are you safe to work? That doesn't mean that you have to be able to work full time or be able to lift 75 pounds or anything like that. We have we serve veterans with restrictions. Only want to work part time, maybe lifting restrictions, 25 pounds. We can accommodate that stuff, and we have accommodated that stuff in our work sites. It really is just making sure that the person is doesn't have any major contraindications to working, like they're safe to work, if that makes sense. And if they have restrictions, that we know what they are so that we can accommodate them. And then really after that, it's just getting started with their rehab counselor, and they'll work together to create an individualized vocational goal. And as you can see with our services, there's a lot of different things you can do. It's not one size fits all. Sometimes I wish it was, because it kind of gets complicated when you're offering a lot of different things. But we do offer a lot of different stuff. And we kind of prefer it that way. So they would work with their rehab counselor to set up an individualized goal. And part of that is working on a whole health plan as well. So if there's anything personally that they want to work on, and a lot of times we can refer them either to some community resources we know, or even right within the VA. There's a lot of preventative health and things that we can offer right in at the VA. And then also the VA Farms and Gardens, as I mentioned, isn't located under our program. It's under Whole Health. And then they would just be referred over to Whole Health. And they don't even have to have an employment goal. They could be retired and just wanting a hobby, or maybe they're already working, but they just really wanted to get into beekeeping or something like that. So the Gardens program is a lot more open. So no need to have a goal of working in agriculture in order to be referred for that. Let's see here. I feel like I'm doing really good for time. Yeah. So I listed here our contact information. Mine is the last one there. I always welcome people. If they have questions about VA Farms, I'm always happy to field a call and share more about it. And I think that was my last slide. Are there any questions, comments?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you do have a question.
Yes, I have a question.
Hello.
You have to be a Wisconsin resident. No, you have to be a Wisconsin resident to
So
services.
So our VA actually does go into southern or northern Illinois. So we do have some counties in Illinois as well, but they would need to be in that area. We do have some vets that are patients of our hospital that aren't in that catchment area, but they're typically kind of in that around those counties anyways. Again, like I mentioned, there are some VAs that already have a VA Farms pilot in some of the East Coast states and the West Coast states. But for ours, they would need to be a patient at our hospital. Did I put in there how to become a patient? I think I did. Okay.
Do you have a relationship with the Farmers Veterans Coalition?
Yeah, we do. Actually, Wisconsin is just starting up theirs, which is really exciting. And Joe Cook is our veteran, like the person coordinating. I don't know if you call him a president. So exciting thing about that, he's part of our advisory council, but not only that, he is one of our mentors. He's actually agreed to be one of our mentors, and he sits in, not every week, but he sits in our peer group and been a really great resource. We know that we couldn't do this without our local farmers because we are not as much experts at all in agriculture. So he has sat in on that. We've had another DATCAP or USGA, Department of Trade and Consumer Protection. Did I get that acronym right? So he's really good at business planning and farm succession and things like that, mediation. He sat in with some of our groups. So we have had a lot of really great support locally. And I feel like that's one of the things that makes our program so unique is that VA sometimes can be kind of sheltered or cloistered or whatever the right word is. We kind of like, we do our thing, and a lot of people like we're in our own bubble. This is one of those services we can't really be in our own bubble. We gotta get out there. And
you said you said you have mentors. The gentleman you referred to is Mr. Cook, one of your mentors. How many mentors do you have in the whole state?
We only have 2 right now. That was one of our goals, is to develop that. We have, like I said, we have it in theory, but it's we're just moving towards getting that offered out more, because our vets are they really like to have that connection with other farmers. So right now, just 2 have completed we call it a profile, so a formal mentor profile. Yeah.
Denise, I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but there is a question there. Could you please provide some advice regarding how to approach our local VA hospital about creating a program like this for our state?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a great question, because this is probably not one of those widespread things yet. I think because it's program improvement, when it's done, when it's done and we've gathered, here's the impact we've had on our veterans, that it may become more common for other VAs to do this. So one thing you could do is reach out to, I'm trying to think of who the best way of getting in. They usually have a public affairs person might be the best option to just see who would be the person to talk to if you don't yet have a point of contact there. Do you have whoever it is, do they have a point of contact yet at the VA? And alternatively, I'm not sure where you're at, but I can also reach out to that VA and just let them know, ELIGIBILITY is really interested in what we're doing here. Who would be a good place for them? Because I can do that too. The tricky thing with VA Farms is that it may be housed in different programs at different VAs. We decided to house ours under our vocational services, but some of them have housed it under health, some have housed it under social work. So it may be a little more, it's a little tricky just in not knowing which department to reach out to, but I can, I'm pretty I'll just talk to whoever.
Yeah, he or she, I'm not sure, they're from Texas AgriBility, and they're gonna send you an email,
Okay,
for some more
Yeah.
specific information.
I'll put that back up there too. There's my contact information. Yeah, but so as far as CWT programs, I always can reach out to any of my counterparts in any other state and see what they have going on. And if they don't know, then they can direct me to the best person. We have a pretty good connection that way.
Great.
But I'm hopeful that you all will see it. If you're not from the state, that you'll start seeing this type of service offered. Again, it could be like ours, having a big vocational focus, or it might be more therapeutic and gardening in nature, but it's still, in either way, it's a great way for veterans to be connected with agriculture. And I think that you can't go wrong with that. And it would be great for them to be connected with AgriBility if they're going to start that up. For us, it was we wanted to make sure that was a really important thing for us to be connected with.
Yeah, we definitely try to encourage everyone who goes through the VA Farms program, if they're not already part of AgriBility, to sign up with us as well, so they can get some extra information, some additional help or mentorship, whatever's needed. And I do think this program is really great, especially for Wisconsin, because there's so many different options. As a lot of people think of farming as just like cows and fields, but agriculture in general is a huge business, and being able to see some of your examples I thought were really great, like the fruits, the veggies, a lot of organic farming is very popular in Wisconsin. So all of those are really great things that we can help people get involved with if they're not with already. Not sure if there's any other questions or comments, but I do just want to take this time to thank Denise for taking this hour and sharing with us more information about VA Farms program here in Wisconsin. And again, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out to her with her contact information, or to me, agrability@wisc.edu, and we can, get more information to you if needed.
Denise, do you have time for one more question? I got a tough one for you.
Uh-oh.
So
I'm a Packer fan. Is that what the question is?
No, absolutely
Oh.
not. I'm a transplant, so I won't go down that road, honestly.
That's usually the question.
Yeah, right. The question is, I see a lot of opportunity here, and I know we've had these discussions in the past via email and other things, but two-part question kind of. First of all, farmers, I don't want to paint with too broad a brush, but sometimes can be a bit of a loner, and making relationships and hired hand relationships is kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, kind of like having an intern, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. So how are you guys going about fostering those relationships is part one, and part two, do you see any potential for helping with farm succession planning in the future by fostering these relationships and potentially creating a path forward for that farm?
Yeah. We do a ton of relationship building just in general because this isn't new for us. Creating placement sites, essentially, just as new for us for agriculture, but we are really familiar with hesitancy in general for what is this? This is federal government. Do I really want to do this? I don't even like my neighbor. No, you're wanting me to partner with the federal government. No, but so that is something we're actually pretty good with at CWT, and we were warned for that. So I think we kind of start with the ones we like. These ones are ready. You're eager to go. We use the word of mouth, and so if a farmer is not sure, maybe they would talk to one of our other farm sites and see what is your experience working with VA Farms, and personal testimonials is great because they will tell you there is not all perfect. There's always things they can do to improve, but they can also kind of reassure someone that it's going to be okay. We've actually done a lot of these different agreements with not just farms, but private businesses and state and federal businesses. So we're hoping that just kind of that it'll slowly work its way through with that. And part of it is too that we've had, like for University of Wisconsin-Madison, for example, it's a really big one. But we have another farm, we actually have another agreement with UW-Madison. So it was easier this time around because we've worked with them in the past. But had I gone in there, no other agreements in place, they would have been like, no way, Jose, that's too much liability for me. So I think you kind of have to start small, and smaller businesses were easier than like the big ones. But now we can say we've got this bigger, UW-Madison is kind of a bigger, system. So we can kind of appeal, I think, to both sectors, like smaller farms and also big farms, because we've kind of gone down that road. And then part two is that like generational stuff. One of my farm sites that I'm onboarding, working with right now, is looking for that very thing. She's actually an older lady herself, just really wants to give back to the community, has done a lot of farming, and just has that nature about wanting to help. But the other piece of it is too, she knows she's not going to farm forever. And she's like, if I can get a farmer and a veteran working here, and they want to actually, she wants to live in the property, but she doesn't want to farm forever. So they could lease that part of it. I mean, so we've had some of those discussions with some of our farm sites, probably not the big ones, but the smaller ones. So I think that has potential there. And so we actually have one farm that's their hope, is that we'll actually have a veteran that wants to lease our farm. So we're not as big as like dairy grazing apprenticeship. Like I think they've got it dialed in with just that niche, but I think there's potential here as well. I don't know if that's what will draw somebody to us, but it could be an unintended impact by having our veterans trained there.
Absolutely. Thanks.
I don't know if that answered all of your question, but
Yeah, it was perfect.
it's in the back of our mind. So, all right, I'm after my time.
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap up here today by saying thanks to everyone who joined us, and we appreciate it, and watch for more of our ELIGIBILITY of Wisconsin webinars in the future. We try to do about one per month until we're able to get back and see everyone face to face at some farm shows in Wisconsin. We do have our ELIGIBILITY Summit coming up in April. That'll be the 13th through the 15th, and we'll be sharing more information about that in the next week or so. So you can look that up on our website or see it on our social media pages as well. And thanks everyone for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Denise.